The flaming rays of the sun dawned on what was supposed to be an autumn morning. For what awakened the birds, they chirped amongst the daylight to alert that it was daytime, as golden rays from the rising sun brought a morning sky filled with life, a rosy hue scraping across the atmosphere. The gentle thuds of click-clack echoed throughout Haven View Park, two lovers walking across a vast, wooden bridge, with a seemingly endless trail that led on for miles and miles on. Tall trees with orange and scarlet-red leaves beginning to fall out of it towered over the bridge, preventing the waking sun from reaching them. As Expunged, one of the lovers, was awake as early as the birds did and, for now, free from working as a deity in their dimension, the other lover, Colin, wished to spend some time with them. That was what they both were doing now. Spending time together with only each other and no one to disturb them. The silence was strong between them, but neither would mind, as they would only focus on each other's company and how much it meant to them both. Colin walked silently beside Expunged, fidgeting with his fingers slightly as he kept his gaze on the trail that went on seemingly forever. As it was chilly and as cold as ice that morning, Colin was wearing a pale blue zipped-up jacket with denim jeans and pitch-black sneakers. Although the chill was noticeable against Colin, he felt heat arose to the entirety of his face as he could feel himself blushing. He couldn't dare to show Expunged, so he cleared his throat and kept on looking forward, his gaze shifted away from them to try and hide the blushing. Again, the silence was thick with them both, the only noises being the wind softly howling against the breeze and the fallen leaves faintly crunching underneath their feet. As they both continued walking, a smile slowly crept onto Colin's lips. That day just couldn't get any better for him. Although it was only just morning, he enjoyed spending time with Expunged, even if it would merely last no longer than a second. He just wanted to be with them, no matter what. For what Colin believed to be only quietness and just the small swishing of the breeze, what made his heart skip a beat was the abruptness of Expunged's echoing masculine voice, "Darling, are you blushing?" Heat arose to Colin's face once more as it reached his ears and neck, and he stood to a halt. Everything went quiet now, the only sounds Colin heard were the faint rapid thudding of his heart. He was frozen, no words escaped from his mouth. His breath was shaky and his lower lip quivered slightly. Colin gulped quietly, and with enough strength and willpower, he had the courage to turn and look up towards Expunged, but his heart started to thud at an even more rapid pace. Expunged seemed to be teasing him as they gave Colin an amused smirk. Colin's mouth started to open slightly but no words came out of it yet. He was in too much of a whiplash to find the words to speak. Colin whipped his head away from Expunged. No, a low, echoing laugh came from them as Colin began to tense up, feeling his heart stop in that moment. Colin's cheeks felt like fire. Colin didn't dare to turn his head towards Expunged, as his body was stiff and rigid and his stomach fluttered with butterflies. The sounds of faint crunching startled him as his heart jumped and his eyes began widening, having now the courage to bring his head towards Expunged. Colin slowly, but shakily turned his head towards them, to which he gasped and stepped back a bit. Expunged stood in front of the boy with an entertained grin across their face, showing off their pure white sharp teeth. Grinning, Expunged stepped towards Colin, bringing his cheeks to their hands, making him gaze into their glowing white singular eye. "Oh, did you forget what I am able to do, my dear?" they purred with a smile on their face. Expunged chuckled and shook their head as they caressed Colin's cheek with one of their fingers, leaning in to press their lips against Colin's temple. "You are adorable, my child, you know that." Their rumbling voice echoed in and out of Colin's ear as he stood there helplessly, his body beginning to tremble smoothly. His whole body felt like flames, and his heart was thudding non-stop as he stared at Expunged as if he was entranced. A soft purr escaped Colin's lips as his eyes were half starting to close. Everything was happening so much at once for him it was getting overstimulating. He couldn't help but lean in and rub his face against Expunged's hands, gently purring against them out of happiness. Speckles of blood started to pour out of his nose, and he seemed too filled with enjoyment and happiness to notice until he felt Expunged wipe his nose and look down at the blood that was on their finger. "Oh my, you must have gotten overstimulated," Expunged commented as they stare at the blood spread on their finger. They sigh and wiped the blood off Colin's nose, keeping his head elevated before wrapping their arms around him and pulling him close so he wouldn't fall to the ground. "All right, you may calm down now."